Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Frozen Sorcery Sorcerer in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod made by Havsglimt here, and I'm a big fan of cold damage and ice in general, and this takes advantage of ice surfaces, allowing you to move even faster while on ice, and also a bunch of other benefits alongside that. I'll be taking you through the full build here all the way up to level 20, but if you want to just stick with level 12, that is fine too. Now with this class, at first you get the create ice, create up to 5 patches of ice that turn areas into difficult terrain and possibly make creatures fall prone. Why this is so good is because enemies, if they slip and fall, their turn is over. This is great for melee classes because they have to run in and attack you, but it's also great against casters because when a spellcaster slips and falls, they lose their concentration, which is huge. So this is good against both really powerful builds in this game. Now, we also get increased health points by 1 for each sorcerer level. We also see the frozen body, so you ignore difficult terrain created by ice so you don't slip on it. While walking on ice, you also expend half the movement speed. That is huge, so you can move around even further. In the frozen body, your skin takes a flamed ice-like crystalline glow. This can be toggled on and off if you want to have that nice ice-like appearance. Now, for the cantrips, you get to choose. Obviously, Ray of Frost is just a given. You probably want to have that, and also the Mage Hand. I'm also using the Morning Frost staff here, so you can actually forego the Ray of Frost because the staff has one that'll use your charisma anyways. And then you can add in Mage Hand is probably the most underrated cantrip here because it can throw a water bottle so the enemies take double cold damage. I also get Minor Illusion so you can group enemies together. Bone Chill because it's chill, cold, but it stops targets from receiving healing, which is huge. And if you're the face of the party, take friends. Otherwise, we're going to go with Firebolt just in case you need to blow something up. Now, for our 2 spells we'll be taking, I think the Shield spell is probably one of the best choices just to keep our survivability up high, and also the Magic Missile to guarantee damage. We'll also be rolling with a stat spread of something like this, so 16 Charisma, 10 Intelligence and Wisdom, 14 Constitution, and 16 Dexterity. However, you can swap Dex with Constitution. I just think that Dexterity is a little bit more powerful. And I always like to have the Persuasion skill proficiency. Level 2 gives us some more spells here. And I guess Ice Knife, I don't normally take it, I like Thunderwave, but this can be cast when you're silenced. And we'll also go a Distance spell to increase spell range by 50%, and the Twin spell, which lets you twin haste to yourself and one other, which is really good. Now into level 3, we get our best mana magic, but I'd also recommend grabbing Hold Person because this can enable critical hits on the enemies, and they'll skip their turns. Very good. Scorching Ray is a good choice as well. I just like the damage from it, but we're going to go with the Quicken spell meta magic here because this is just good to be able to cast a bonus action spell. And into level 4, we get another choice in cantrip here. I guess Shocking Grasp can be a good choice. And then for our next level spell, I think that Misty Step is good for the extra teleportation survivability. I like Scorching Ray, but this doesn't really have a place on our build, unfortunately. Shadow Blade's kind of nice too, but I'm not going to go down that route. For our first feat, either an increase to our Charisma or the Alert feat, +5 to Initiative, Can't Be Surprised, is a massive benefit, so we'll roll with that. Level 5 gives us our choice of level 3 spells. Lightning Bolt's great because it shares the benefit of being doubled whenever the target has Create Water set up. And also Counterspell is really good too. Or even Haste because we can twin that to another character. So we'll roll with something like that. You can also replace a spell if you want to get some of these a little bit earlier. Level 6 gives us our subclass features finally. So we get ourselves the Cold Hearted. You gain resistance to cold damage. In addition, the ice you created by your Create Ice feature spreads to nearby water surfaces. That's pretty huge, so you can spread that ice in a large area of effect. We also get the Cold Hearted here using sorcery points. When you hit a creature with a spell that deals cold damage, you can spend up to 3 sorcery points to reduce its movement speed by 4.5 meters for each spell or sorcery point that you expend. If you reduce a creature's speed to 0 this way, it takes 2 to 12 cold damage. Pretty cool ability. Movement speed is something that's really easy to manipulate here with this build. And I also should mention that the outfit is dyed. This is from the Ethereal Threads mod, but the dye is from this mod itself. And we'll also take the Counterspell. If you want to get this dye, it's available in the tutorial chest, so you can grab it that way. Level 7 gives us Ice Storm, which is really going to be one of our most powerful spells, and it fits here perfectly, dealing cold damage and creating an ice surface beneath us. I also would actually recommend taking Sleet Storm if you want to fit perfectly thematically. Confusion is another good spell though, and even going back to take Haste, but I'm just going to, I'll grab Haste, why not? It's really, really good to have Haste. And we'll go with, finally here, an increase to our Charisma, or you can go with the Spell Sniper and take Eldritch Blast if you prefer. Now here we get our best damage spell for cold, other than Wall of Ice, with the Cone of Cold doing an 8d8. If water set up, that's 128 damage max, which is pretty crazy. Cone of Cold is very powerful. Level 10 gives us another choice in cantrip. We'll go with whatever you want. Acid Splash there. Hold Monster, very powerful spell as well. And we can take Careful Spell there to help protect our teammates when we're casting spells a bit recklessly. Into level 11, we get our Flash Freeze. You're most confident when on ice. Whenever you run on ice, you don't proc opportunity attacks, so that's huge. Only on ice surfaces. And you also get the Flash Freeze, bonus action. When hit by an attack in melee range, you may release a freezing blast of cold that deals 9 cold damage to your attacker and creates a 4.5 meter radius ice surface centered around you. Pretty huge. And there's also some items in this game that can actually benefit this. Now, we do get a special ability a little bit later on. I'm going to grab the Chain Lightning spell there, because again, doubled with cold damage, and Chain Lightning actually does quite a bit of damage. I'd love to just multi-class one level the Wizard and use Odaluk's Freezing Sphere from a scroll, but we don't have that. You can do that if you prefer. We'll take Globe of Invulnerability, because that's a really powerful spell. And for our feat at level 12, we'll take a Charisma boost. That's just good to have. Level 13, we get to take another choice in spell here, and this is when we can go back and take things like Sleet Storm that we would have wanted to have previously, and then until level 15 when we get our next subclass feature, we can just go ahead here with another Sorcerer point. But level 15 is when we get our Frozen Soul. You get immunity to cold damage and resistance to fire damage, and you can cast a modified version of the Wall of Ice spell. This version summons pillars with half the amount of health points as the ones created by the spell slot. So there's this one here, spell slot, or the free one. Now, what's great about this one here is that you actually want the walls to break. So with this, it creates the ice surface. And this actually got changed in patch 8. It corrected it because it would only do half damage. Now it does full damage, which is actually quite a bit. It says upwards to 120 damage, but yeah, you can see this will be actually pretty wild. You just need to get the surfaces to break, but you can break that with like a Thunder Wave or something like that. Now for our next level spell, it's actually a good idea to go back and take some of the other ones that you may wanted. Like if you prefer crowd control, taking confusion or slow can be good. Fireball is always nice, but it doesn't fit on our build, unfortunately. And you can even go ahead with something like Sunbeam there if you want, but it's personal preference really. Mage Armor is not a bad spell to have if you're going to be rocking robes, since we'll give you a +3 to your armor class. Level 16 gives us another choice in feat. As mentioned, Savage or Spell Sniper gives you increased critical hit chance. You can grab Eldritch Blast, never a bad choice. You can even go with an Elemental Adept if you want to add another elemental damage type in. You can even, I think a good choice though too is increasing your dexterity, more armor class, more initiative. Never a bad choice really. Getting dexterity is just overpowered in Baldur's Gate. Into our next level here, I guess it's your personal preference, Mirror Image I guess, and then we'll just go with the Heightened spell there. Once we get to higher levels, you don't really have much that you need, so you're just kind of going through this, and you can, again, multi-class Wizard, use a different item that's going to boost your Arcane Acuity, and then you can use Odaluk's Freezing Sphere without worry. We'll take our boost to Dexterity here, although there's a lot of other feats here that you can go with. I'm just going to go with a max out stat route, as that just works well. And then whenever we finish Short Rest, we get 4 expended sorcery points back. I would multi-class this, but I just want to stick to the base 12 for some of these builds. As for gear, I think the best choice is the Morning Frost Staff. It just makes sense here. Increasing your cold damage, gives you Ray of Frost, and you can apply chilled on the target. When they have chilled, that means they take double cold damage for your next spell, which is crazy. I also have the Hood of the Weave, but you can go with like the Hat of Fire Acuity, which sounds silly, but Scorching Ray, if you take that spell, you can boost your spell save DC. And as mentioned, take a single level dip into the Wizard, and then you can grab Odaluk's Freezing Spear scrolls and learn those and cast them, which is a really great cold spell. We also get the Cloak of Protection. The Robe of the Weave here is the best. Really use whatever robes you got early game. And then you can also go ahead with like a Scroll of Mage Armor to further boost up your armor class. We now have it up to 25, which is pretty great. I have the Winter's Clutches on here, which gives 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost when we deal cold damage. And then the Boots of Stormy Clamor, which can stack Reverberation, which can knock the enemy prone, which is really good, combining those together. Now the Snowburst Ring is cool because it creates a 4.5 meter circle of ice below the target whenever you deal cold damage, so we're constantly creating surfaces. We got the Emily Greater Health, giving us 222 health, and then also the Ring of Protection. If you want 262 health, you could have taken the Tough Feat. I should have mentioned that as well. It's a good choice when we're doing these higher level builds. And Morning Frost, Viconia's Walking Fortress. Now, when it comes to combat, one of the coolest things you can do with this class is create ice here, making surfaces that you can walk alongside. You can do bonus actions or ones that cost sorcery points, which allows you to create, so you got those there to make a path to the enemy. But what we can also do is use our Wall of Ice here, because this is a really powerful spell, and it leaves behind an aura here. So we can go ahead here with creating this wall, and this is going to knock a bunch of enemies around. But with this, it's also going to create difficult terrain, deal a ton of damage, and take out enemies there. And it's kind of funny, the ragdoll effect that happens with this Wall of Ice. But we want these broken. They only have 15 health. So if we can get the enemies to destroy these, it creates the icy... basically makes a little area of effect that deals damage to the enemy. So that's really good. Now, we also got some other spells we could do, like as mentioned, using Mage Hand to be able to create drop a water bottle and throw it around is really good too. Ice Storm for the crowd control is great. I want these targets gone, especially this one here, so I'm going to use a Chain Lightning to get rid of those ones there, because they would really mess up our plans. And Counterspell is kind of our biggest enemy. Now, we also got Quicken Spell, or we can use the Create Ice here. So This is good because create ice, we can then go ahead with creating difficult terrain around a multitude of different enemies, but we have to be able to see them. So I'm just going to use this first here, and you can put this in a few areas that the target may end up running around to, and also areas that you may yourself may end up running around to. So yeah, we're immune to prone there. We knocked one of them prone, and then we have that ice there, and ragdolled this body too. Now, what's kind of cheeky is you can go ahead and attack the wall of ice there, and what that's going to do is then leave behind that aura there, which will deal damage to the enemy. And I would recommend doing this just if you have another character that you know there's an area that's like really highly contested. We want to just shoot it right there, break that wall of ice, go right ahead, and it'll deal the damage over time. Now, we also have other ways of doing ice surfaces with Ice Storm again, so we have lots of great choices here. And you can also break your concentration on this one once we have the pillars broken there to leave behind that aura. So if you can get another spell that's going to break them all, and then you can redo your concentration on it, that's a pretty good choice for damage. Now, we don't have a really good optimal position here to do Cone of Cold. I'd love to be able to do that, but that's really best when the enemies are kind of paired together like this. We have Encrusted with Frost on the enemy here, and a 99% hit chance on the targets, so we'll take that there because the Chain Lightning is good for reducing targets. They saved on it, which kept them alive. But I guess next we'll go ahead with... we may be able to line this up to hit other targets. I'll just blast away with that there, and that was enough to take out one more target. And then I guess create ice in a few more areas. We'll just run around to find a good spot to be able to pop these down at, and then we'll just go ahead with creating those additional ice surfaces. So yeah, it's kind of tricky because sometimes it's hard to be able to find those spots, but yeah, we were able to knock one of them prone. We got one target prone, another target prone, perfect timing, and then we can just go ahead with attacking these walls because they do break line of sight, but that is also a nice benefit too because you can actually break enemy line of sight with this. I'll break my current wall of ice, and we'll put up another one at the back line there. Just it does a lot of damage, and that took out a couple more enemies. And then I guess we can just end this off. There's one more target here, and we can. He's not going to survive any of these attacks. We'll just use Cone of Cold for the theming. Boom. And then we got the Cold Hearted, which we can, again, use those sorcery points to reduce the target's movement speed by 4.5, 9, 13.5, or 18 meters. And if you reduce their movement speed to 0, it will deal them damage. So that is the Cold Frozen Sorcery Subclass by Havsglimt. This is an awesome class mod. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next one.